When a game starts off like this, you know you're in for a ride. They tried to mix the high-speed thrills of Alpine racing with the directional style of Sega Rally. The result? A confusing, quarter-munching, isometric mess that is somehow also brilliant. What's up everyone, I'm your host Ian, and this is Shred Retro. The show where we're on a mission to dig through the powder, the slush, and the ice of every single snowboarding video game ever made to find out what really deserves to be called a legend. Let's jump in a time machine and hit the powder of 1997. When Gaelco released Snowboard Championship, it absolutely featured the competitive snowboarding style of the day. At this time, snowboarding was exploding, but in the competitive scene, Alpine style racing was the king. It was the dominant style and it was peaking in popularity right around the late 1990s and the early 2000s. This style of riding is all about raw speed. It emphasizes precise turning and navigating gate systems, that super stiff, aggressive style we all associate with the old Olympic slalom. It's the polar opposite of the freestyle games we mostly celebrate today, like SSX, which are focused on tricks in massive air. Snowboarding games were rare in arcades back in the day. Snowboarding Championship is one of the few boarding arcade games that even exist.
Player one, ready!
You're racing the clock down a slalom course, trying to nail gates and avoid obstacles. It feels like Gaelco looked at Sega Rally Championship, which was such a huge hit in '94, and thought, let's do that on snow. To be fair to Gaelco, they actually released a rally driving game called Rally in 1993, a year before Sega Rally. But the question really remains, does this style work on a snowboard?
That's it, they've goofed. They're off of the hill.
Would you chill out, man? They're completely harmless.
They're making a mockery of this place, and you're encouraging them. I mean, look at this tent and this half-pipe pothole on my hill.
Oh, on your hill.
When you first drop in, it's not bad. Those rally-style slalom events are totally intuitive for a first-timer. The arrows basically scream what to do, which is perfect for an arcade cabinet. When you're actually nailing those consecutive turns, there's a genuine feeling of flow and it's super satisfying. And the presentation is great, especially for that time period, you know. It presents well at first glance. You get these great crowd shots before the races and after the races, and the large character sprites must have been a blast to see on the arcade floor. My favorite part though is the visuals for the air. The flashy snap-up or zoom-in shots for the jumps and loops are super attractive visually and really give you that hit of adrenaline you need to drop in another quarter, I'm sure. A few minutes in, the game's limitations become super obvious. The biggest culprit is the isometric view, introducing confusing player control scenarios where left is now right and vice versa. This is manageable in slower games, but when you're hurling down a mountain at rally speed, it's just super frustrating. And adding to that frustration is the very limited field of view. I need to be able to see ahead to anticipate my turns, like in real snowboarding. And the arrows are supposed to support that, but I just couldn't rely on those arrows to know what's coming up. If the camera angle isn't gonna work, you have to open up the play area. And remember, this is 1996, 4 years after Street Fighter II hit the arcades. But there's a shocking lack of co-op or any human competition or social aspects. In an arcade, this is a huge miss. This game is a quarter-muncher that doesn't necessarily translate well outside of the arcade environment. Ultimately, Snowboard Championship suffers from an overall lack of depth. Anything beyond an occasional few minutes of playing it reveals a limited move set, a complete lack of tricks, and repetitive stage environments, obstacles, and objectives. And this brings us to the Rally, and why we even mention Rally. Sega Rally is awesome because of the mechanics. The control and the terrain physics are just awesome. That feel of the turns and the available depth of mastery. There are lots of turns to be had in Snowboard Championship, but for example, there are no advanced control mechanics like the power slide in Sega Rally to be mastered there. The controls are just too basic, and more importantly, the turning is far too basic. Plus, Sega Rally gave us this exhilarating track progression, from the desert to the forest to the mountain, and that created an unforgettable sense of speed and excitement. Snowboard Championship is just snow, snow, and more snow. It all looks the same. This kind of snowboarding racing game, without actual head-to-head opponents, desperately needed amazing control and terrain physics to stand out. Without those executed well, it's really no wonder this game has been largely lost to time. As an arcade history piece that captures the brief reign of Alpine racing, it's a fun curiosity. But if you're looking for a deep, challenging, or satisfying snowboarding game, you can really pass on this one. It's a quarter-muncher that fails to deliver the core mechanics needed for a competitive racing experience. On our list, it sits in the lower tiers. It tried to bring the high-octane thrill of Rally to the mountain, but it lacked the mechanical depth to make the journey worthwhile. Did you ever see this cabinet in arcade? Let us know in the comments. Next up in the Snowboarding Video Game Anthology, we'll take a look at Namco's arcade title, Alpine Racer 3, the last title in their hit arcade series. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the mountain.
Philosophy behind company Mac Dog Productions, it's always been and will continue to be, just trying to get the most progressive, intense, best snowboarding you can possibly get on film. I think when snowboarding first started, there's like a lot of people on their crazy neon suits and funny looking grabs they were doing. No one was really that progressive until I met up with Noah Selaznick. He's actually the first person that got me into snowboarding, and what he was doing back then was way ahead of what everyone else is doing. If you just look at New Kids on the Toit, some of the clips in there, huge frontside 360 leans and big backside 360 indies, everything that people are doing now, but he was doing it back then, 5-6 years ago. Working with Pocahontas, Noah was still at the forefront. Chris Roach, those guys are super, super progressive.
Just to let you know, anybody will tell you a snowboarder can kick a skier's ass anytime.
Oh, yeah? Well, that sounds like a declaration of war to me, buddy. Just make sure your mouth can write checks that your butt can cash.
Yo, girl, I will race you anytime.
Tomorrow morning, 0800 hours on the Widowmaker.
Stay. Excuse me, quick question. Suppose someone should, I don't know, set themselves on fire? Where would the medicine be?
They forgot what? 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 Ha ha ha! Yeah yeah yeah! They forgot what? They forgot what?